If you were to ask most people, what are the UN climate talks? They may tell you, huh? What are you talking about? And then if you were to find people who actually know what the UN climate talks are, their response might be, why should I care? The process looks really boring. It's really slow. Now, the process is not perfect. There are lots of people who critique it and say there should be a different way. But overall, it's been effective in combating climate change over the last nearly 30 years. And it's been effective for several reasons. The first thing that Conference of Parties, or COPs, do is really peer pressure other countries to think about the emissions that they let off and to think about how they may curb them over time. So as part of this process, countries have to sign and put together what are called nationally determined contributions, which basically say, this is what we're going to do over the next several years to reduce our emissions of greenhouse gases.
Chris! Yes! But Chris already leaves, so... But I'll take it. That's fine.
It's framed everything kind of around 1.5, and that's been really effective in everything from the climate goals that the Biden administration has, passing the Inflation Reduction Act, major investment in green energies, and it's also been effective in shaming companies in what they decide to do, because people look at them and say, well, you're doing this, but that's not really in line with 1.5 degrees. So it's been very effective in that way. The third thing that UN climate talks have been very successful at is framing the debate about how we see climate change. Perhaps the best example of this is something called loss and damage. This is basically the idea that rich countries which developed and industrialized on the back of fossil fuels and have created the problem are most responsible for fixing it. And even a few years ago, the discussions of loss and damage were really on the fringe of climate talks. But last year at the COP in Egypt, there was an agreement to create a fund for loss and damage, and it was just actually approved at the COP here in Dubai. You might be saying to yourself, well, God, you know, why should I pay attention to this? Does it really matter? The answer is yes, it does really matter. These conferences, while very critiqued, while a lot of people say the process needs to be reformed, they are really the only way that the world has currently for all the nations to come together and address this problem as a collective voice.